who is the customer? Who are these people? Are they men? Are they women? Are they 60-year-old ambitious people? Are they 16-year-old ambitious people? So everyone has a different outcome that they're looking for.
Honestly, these are people who are frustrated by corporate culture.
Yeah, and this is why you have to think, like, what is the problem you're solving? The business you're building is because you feel like it's all aligned with my drivers, it's aligned with my expertise, with everything I love doing. But what is the problem?
Right.
What am I trying to solve?
Welcome back to Bet on Yourself by Level Up Lab. In the previous episode, we spoke about finding our sweet spot. We covered the topics of passion and expertise, but my main question was around how do we find what the consumers want from our content? What is it that the audience needs? So today, Sangeeta is going to help us discover that and take us on a journey to get to the customer interest part of it. Is it?
Yeah. So in jargon or startup jargon, it's customer discovery.
Customer discovery.
But before we go into customer discovery and really understanding what the customer needs, we start with something that we call a hypothesis.
Okay.
Right? Which is basically an assumption that you're making, right? So today you know something about what you want to build in terms of your business with Level Up Lab. So let's start with something where we try and put your assumptions down first on a piece of paper.
Okay.
About the problem that the customer has and who is the customer.
Okay.
And then we go into the whole customer discovery piece of working with the customer to understanding if you're right or you're wrong.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's how we'll start. Now, usually when it comes to business, I would say, let's start with the vision and the values. That's really where strategy starts for most businesses. But because we're already starting to talk about the customer, let's go down this path and we can come back to the vision and values piece later. Because for a lot of startups and for a lot of new businesses, it's not so much about the vision and the values right at the beginning. It is this idea that they have and they really just want to see if there's a market, if there's customers out there.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you said we begin with a hypothesis, is it?
Correct. So what we're going to do is if you go to my website, jumpstartstudio.com.au and download something that we call a problem statement template.
Problem statement template. Okay.
And so first what we need to do is define the problem statement for the customer. So any customer, the first thing with customer discovery is there needs to be a problem or a need that the customer has, right? So what we're going to do now is find out what that is in your own mind first. Put that out on a template before we go into the next steps.
Okay. When you were speaking off camera some time ago, you mentioned that a customer may need something, but whether they've acted on that need before or not determines whether you giving them that will actually matter or not, or will it monetize or not.
Yeah.
How do I find that out?
We'll come to it.
Okay.
Okay, great. So there are two things when it comes to a problem statement or defining what the problem is of your customer, right? So what you want to understand is, yes, you may think, oh, my customer has multiple different problems that I want to address. But for now, the beauty of this template is that it talks about the magic of one.
Okay.
Right? The magic of one means think of that one customer that immediately comes to mind that you want to serve, and what is the one problem that they're facing. Okay?
Okay.
So keep that in mind as we're going through this template. So don't think of multiple different things.
Okay.
So look at the template over here. The template actually talks about the problem, defining a problem statement first. So we talk about, let's say, customer ABC, whoever that customer segment is, they want to achieve a specific outcome.
Okay.
But they have a certain problem or a pain point.
Okay.
Because there are certain barriers that exist. Right?
Right.
A pain exists because there are certain kinds of barriers
right.
for them being able to achieve the outcome, which makes them feel a certain way, a certain negative emotion.
Yeah.
That's why it's a problem, because there's a negative emotion attached to it. So that's what we want to uncover for your business Level Up Lab.
Okay.
Right? So I've got an example here, and this example comes from my book, where I talk about mothers of young kids want to access cheap toys for their kids. But they struggle to find cheap toys because, kids want new toys all the time. So but they need to find these cheap toys all the time for their kids. So they struggle with that because they have to go to multiple places to look for them. Right? And so that makes them feel frustrated and it's time consuming.
Time consuming, right.
So if you were to think about Level Up Lab now, and feel free to write over this template, but if you were to think about your Level Up Lab, who is the customer segment? Who do you think is the customer segment?
I think anyone who's very driven to become the best version of themselves.
Okay, can you
Too
define
broad.
it? Yes, can you define it a little bit more? Like, say here, we've got mothers of young kids. So it's very specific, right? It's that one persona or that one customer that we're talking about, one person. When I say mothers of young kids, you can immediately imagine somebody. So who do you imagine is that customer segment? Get a little bit more specific than anyone who wants to.
It could go 2-3 ways. I think there is migrants.
Sure.
There are entrepreneurs. They also are very driven to do things. And who else? But not necessarily. There could be someone people who are ambitious.
But who are these people? Are they men? Are they women? Are they 60-year-old ambitious people? Are they 16-year-old ambitious people? So everyone has a different outcome that they're looking for.
Youngsters, let's say people from 25 to 35.
Okay, so let's say young adults.
Young adults.
Okay, young
Okay.
adults. Okay, so young adults want to achieve an outcome. What outcome are these young adults that you're trying to target on? What are they trying to achieve?
Honestly, these are people who are frustrated by corporate culture.
So young adults looking to leave their corporate jobs, or is it young adults looking to? What is the outcome?
Young adults who want to break stereotypes. No, okay, that's too.
That's not an outcome, right?
That's
Breaking
not a-
stereotypes is not an outcome. So think
Achieve a
of the
specific
outcome.
outcome. Okay, either have a venture of their own that where every morning they are working for themselves, not for growing somewhere. Like they're working for themselves. They are not contributing a minimal amount of their skills to a large corporation that is just making money for itself.
Okay, so basically young adults who want to start a business of their own.
Yeah. I try to
Is
put
that
it
an outcome?
differently. Yeah.
Or what? Define it, because I think it's important you define what that outcome is, and we will go test it in the market, right? So this is just your assumptions at this point. You assume that there are a bunch of young adults.
So these people could be freelancers also, like people who want to be part of the gig economy.
Okay, let's go with that, right? Young adults who want to start a side hustle.
Start a side hustle. Yes.
Okay.
I hope. Okay.
But what is their problem today? But they have X problem or pain point. What is the problem today?
They lack resources.
What sort of resources? Is it money? Is it time? Is it what resources?
Information resources.
Okay, but they lack information on how to start a side hustle.
Yeah, they lack information. Yeah, on what it takes. They lack two things: information and support, in a way where so we thrive on. So, for example, I would not be able to do this if I was surrounded by people who have employee mindsets. Everyone in my team, everyone I'm surrounded with is thinking in the way that I'm thinking, where they have a growth mindset. They have a mindset where they want to step out of this place and build something of their own. So, they lack
information and a supportive community.
Yeah, information and a supportive community.
Yeah, put that down. So, but they lack. So, what you're saying is young adults want to start a side hustle, but they lack information
And the
supportive community to show them how to do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
How to do it.
Okay. Because why? Why is this lack of support or this lack of information? What is the barrier?
Why would someone lack information? I don't mind the team giving me some ideas too. Why would someone lack information or a community to support?
They're new to something, like they're new to an environment, and hence they don't know where to find resources. Too much information, they don't know which direction to go to.
Right. Oh, there are so many. Too much information.
So is it a lack of information, or is the problem that there's too much information?
The lack of direct information, like something that will give them like a map. It will not give them general information. It will give them very specific information. Like you want to do this, you use this template. No, not this template, but you use this piece of information, this video. So very value-driven information.
Okay, but why? Okay, so even if we say specific information, that's what you want to go to. But what is the barrier that exists today? Why do you feel like they don't have this information? Because too much information, that could be one thing. So it's information overload, right?
Information.
That's out there.
Overload. Sometimes it's also they don't know where to look for it. Like there is a lot of information, but there is they don't know where to look for it. Now, if suppose
Right. That's a good barrier to put down, right? So because they don't know where to look for it. Cool. Awesome. So do you want to read that whole statement out?
young adults want to start a side hustle, but they don't know where to look for it. No, sorry. They
Read it again. Start
Okay.
from top.
Young adults want to start a side hustle, but they lack information and support of a community to show them how to do it because they don't know where to look for it. This does not match, no?
No, it's okay.
Okay.
Just read it.
Which makes them feel lost and alone.
Okay. What doesn't match?
The pain point and the barrier. So there's, but they
Lack information.
lack information. But they lack information and a support and the support of a community because they don't know where to look for it. Which kind of does. If they just show them, oh, this is if you want this thing, you come here. That
Yeah. And this is why you have to think like, what is the problem you're solving? Right?
Yeah.
So this template is designed for you to sit down and think about the business you're building is because you feel like it's all aligned with my drivers, it's aligned with my expertise, with everything I love doing. But what is the problem?
Right.
What am I trying to solve?
Right.
Right? So a piece of homework for you then will be to sit down and think a little bit more deeper about this problem statement and think about who's the customer segment, what do they need, what are their pain points, what are the barriers that exist, and how does that make them feel?
Okay.
Okay. What I will also do is take you into a little bit more deeper. So as you're thinking about this, another template that is very helpful as you're going through this is the customer persona template.
Okay.
So persona is basically a profile, right? Basically, it's a profile of a customer that you think is your ideal customer.
Okay.
And so to do that, you can go back to my website and pick up the template that's called customer persona. And we can talk through that because that will also plug into this and it'll give you a bit more idea.
Okay, let's do that. Okay. I have the customer persona PDF downloaded.
Amazing. So the purpose of doing this, and this is something that every founder should do, is actually understanding who your customer is, right? And often this is a good starting point. So going back to, creating a hypothesis of who your customer is, the first thing that I recommend is imagining the person. So let's say you said young adults, for example. Who is this young adult? Do you have somebody in your life today, whether they expanded networks, whether that is yourself, but you don't want to put yourself, because what you want to do is who's that customer, that ideal customer. You want to create a bit of an image or a profile about them. So the first thing you want to do is take a picture of this person and stick it up somewhere, right, on a piece of paper. And so this customer persona, as you can see, there's a bit of a picture. That's the first thing, because once you have somebody's picture, you can start imagining this person being real.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Then I would say give a name, age, and location to this person.
Okay.
Right? So if you were to think of a young adult, who would you think of?
One of my team members, Vedant.
Okay. And so when you imagine this person, his name is Vedant, right? And say, what's his age?
28.
Okay. And what is his location?
Melbourne.
Great. So now you've sort of created this person. Now, if people don't know anybody who is of that demographic that they're trying to, their customer segment demographic, you can imagine this person as well, right? So you'll have somebody in your network. So you've picked somebody, but you could also pick somebody who you don't know, but this is the ideal person you would want as your customer. So you create a bit of an image. And today with AI, you can create images
Yeah.
of people, right? So it's important to visually sort of have this person in mind, because as you visualize this person and who this person is, give them a name, they start becoming a little bit more real. Then what we do in the customer persona, and you can go into many different dimensions of the customer persona, but I like to use 2 dimensions. One is demographic and the other one is the psychographic.
Okay.
Right? The demographic information is all about who they are. So like age, name, location, right? And then as you can see here, there's a little bit more that I have in this template that guides you to think of different things about this person. So there are 6 sections in this template. The first one is personal information. So what is the personal information? Their marital status, their family details, like do they have kids, are they single, like who are they, who is this person? So if you're thinking of Vedant, you want to sort of fill out these different things about this person, right? Then you want to think about their financial status. Do they earn a salary? Are they, do they not? Do they just do freelancing at this point? Like what is the current financial status of this person, and how much do they earn if they earn something, right? So you want to sort of start imagining your ideal customer and what would their sort of personal information look like.
Okay.
Then you want to think about their professional information. So what is their current profession? What was the past profession if they had anything? What education qualifications do they have? What sort of income? What sort of aspirations do they have from a professional side of things?
That much detail.
Yeah, because what you're trying to do is trying to get into the psyche of your customer.
Right. Okay.
Right? Often when people put personas together, they do it at a very imaginary level, and which is okay to be imaginary about things, but you just do it at a very high level demographic kind of a piece. But this template is designed to help you get into the mind of your customer. Because if you can, it's not just stepping into the shoes of your customer, it's about stepping into the minds of your customer, because decisions are usually made up here, not in the shoes, right? So what you want to do really is really understand this person. Who is this person, right? Who is my ideal customer? Then you want to think about their behavior and personality, right? So a few different things there. What annoys them? What motivates them? What really excites them?
Okay.
What are things that they're passionate about? What do they want the world to think about them? So all these different sort of psychographical, behavioral things that you see this person do. So because you know Vedant, you can probably think about, the things that you've seen him display, the behaviors that you've seen him display before. But if somebody is doing this template and doesn't know what to look at, you imagine, okay, ideally this is what this person would be like, and then respond to the questions accordingly. So that's sort of more about the persona themselves in a holistic manner. But what I also have on this template is 3 other sections that are called needs, challenges, and opportunities. Now this is related directly to the problem statement.
Okay.
So when you create the problem statement, right, and if the problem is there's lack of information and a supportive community to young adults who want to start side hustles, what you want to think about is what are their needs related to the problem.
Okay.
So if you expand this, you can see what are their current needs? Why do they need it? How do they get it today?
Okay.
What do they plan to do about it, right? So again, these are assumptions you're making, because at this stage you haven't spoken to any of your customers directly. But knowing this persona, what would be some of the things that you can guess around their current needs and around the current needs specifically? Similarly for their challenges, right? What is their biggest challenge today in relation to the problem? So remember we spoke about the barriers, and we said, okay, the barriers are they don't have credible information, or they don't know where to look for the information. There's too much information, all these things that came up. So you want to think about that. What is the biggest challenge? Why is it a challenge? How does it make them feel, right? What are they doing about it today?
Right. Okay.
And then you want to think about opportunities. So what is the opportunity? Now that you have taken a few guesses at what their needs are and what their challenges are, what is the opportunity for you as a business to be able to serve that problem?
Right.
So how can you help them with the needs? How can you help them with their challenges?
Right.
And anything else that comes to mind, just list it out.
Okay.
Now, a lot of times people are like, oh my God, this is really detailed. It is detailed for a reason. It is
Yeah.
detailed because you want to understand your customer. At the end of the day, if you don't have a customer, you don't have a business.
True.
So you really want to understand. The second piece is a lot of this is guesswork,
Yeah.
right? If this person doesn't exist or this person, you've never spoken to this person enough, then there is a real gap piece in your understanding, right? And that is okay too. If there is a gap in your understanding related to their problems, just put a question mark.
Okay.
So whatever you can guess properly, guess it. But if you feel like, oh, you know what, I really don't know what do they plan to do about this particular need or this problem, right? I really don't know. That's okay, because that is what the customer discovery process is designed to do, is to
Okay.
help you fill your gaps.
Okay, got it.
Right? So we have a starting point. We use all of these as starting points. And then from here, we go deeper into the customer discovery piece.
Okay. One general question.
Yeah.
This stuff, do we learn this in, suppose, a master's in entrepreneurship, or does this come from practical experience?
You will learn it in a master's of entrepreneurship. You will learn it in a lot of MBAs or business kind of degrees. They do teach this stuff. But this is my take on it, because everyone has a different view of how you build out customer personas.
Yeah.
But in my mind, it's not disassociated between the customer persona and the problem, because they go hand in hand. And this is why we're doing the problem statement and this together, because it is one thing to say, here's the problem, and then you go build a persona. Sometimes it doesn't even resonate back to the problem. So that's why I like to have these 3 sections on the persona template, where we're talking not just about their demographic and psychographic information, but and behavioral information, but we're also talking about their needs, their challenges and opportunities that are related to the problem.
Okay, got it. Okay, so I think I will do this with my team, because we'll have a better brainstorming session together. And I might also go back and do the problem statement once again with everyone. Let's see if we can come up with something different. If not, mostly that's the one that we can go ahead with. So I'll come back to you with this done by next week, and then we can go from there. Does that sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay, cool. Thank you for tuning in today. Let's see how the rest of the week goes. Join us for some behind the scenes for how we do these exercises together. And next week, we will come back to Sangeeta and present our results.
All the best.
Thank you.